In today's video, we're gonna animate bicycle that we created earlier. So take a look here. We have that bicycle that we implemented with enhanced input. We can ride it, we can press buttons, but as you see, wheels are not rotating, steering is not rotating, and pedals are not rotating also. So today we're gonna fix it and we're gonna animate that bicycle using animation blueprint. Let's start right now. Let's go to the transport folder, to the bicycle, and here create new folder, name it animations. And here let's create animation blueprint. Animation blueprint. And here select bicycle skeleton because we wanna animate bicycle skeletal mesh. And let's name it BPA bicycle and open it. So here you see animation blueprint. So if you never worked before with the animation blueprints, basically here we said how that mesh should look like, how bones should rotating, how all that animating stuff, what animations should be playing. Here we set it up here, and then we just in our object in the skeletal mesh we just set it that animation blueprint gonna influence skeletal mesh. So I'll show you how to make it and you'll understand better if you don't know concept of the animation blueprint. So here we have two graphs. Here is anim graph where we can get our pawn owner. So if we wanna get pawn owner, we're gonna get the BP bicycle object because we will set it here. We can do it right now. So go to BP bicycle in the mesh here where you have anim class. Just select BPA bicycle, compile and save, and we will not make anything in that BP bicycle more today. So with that node you can get BP bicycle and event blueprint update animation called on every frame when state is updating. So what we can do here in event graph, for example, get some variables, angles to rotate, I don't know, axes, and like any stuff, make some variables, and then in the anim graph we can set, for example, rotation, scale, translation, and all that stuff for bones of our mesh. As you remember, I will now open it. Here you see, let's open skeletal mesh. We have that bones, and we can influence it. Okay, so the first thing that is very important when we make an animation for the instance of chaos vehicle system, that one system right here, is that we should go to class settings and here set as the parent class vehicle animation instance. So that vehicle animation instance will give us a few functions that will really help us. Okay, and here in the anim graph, the first thing that I want to do, I want to call function from that vehicle animation instance. So here let's call wheel controller here. That node gonna rotate wheels that we specify earlier in the vehicle movement component. As you remember, wheel setup, and here we choose that physics wheels, and I will show you how to work with it because that physics wheel and that and actual wheel is the different bones. So I will show you how to work with that. And here we should pass compose pose. It's gonna be mesh space ref pose. It's just pose like current pose of the bicycle here. And now if we want to connect it, then we're gonna get that component to local. Okay, and here let's give some space because we will implement later logic here. And now if you compile and save, and we will try to play, then as you see, nothing is rotating. I mean, something is rotating, but you're not seeing it, because actual, as I said before, actual wheels are not the same thing as physics wheel that is specified. Okay, and here we can use event graph. So in event graph, what we can do is we can get a rotation of the physics wheel and then make variables of it. And then in the anim graph, just set rotation of actual wheels. So let's do it. Here we try to get pound under, and here we wanna use node is valid. Is valid node is like the same as if in C++ you will write something like if variable equals to null, then it's not valid, and if it's not equals to null, then it's valid. And here, if it's valid, then we wanna cast it to the BP bicycle. As you probably understand, try to get pound owner gets just pound. Pound is a parent class, and then we should cast it to the actual class, so we can later get properties of actual that class. And here, if it was casted correctly, then we gonna get mesh. Maybe let's get mesh like that. Let's search here, get mesh. So get mesh just gets that one mesh that have a skeletal mesh asset with bicycle, and from there we can get socket bone rotation, and that socket bone rotation gonna be rotation of the front physics wheel. So copy and paste here. So now here that physics wheel is rotating, and here we just get rotation of it. Here let's split structure, so because we want to get to use only y axis, because as you see here, you see physics wheel and y axis is green one. If you rotate, it rotates like this way, and our wheel should rotate only in this way. So we want to use only pitch rotation. Okay, and now we want to promote it to variable. So promote to the variable, let's name that variable front wheel pitch. We can add rotation, but I don't want to make variable names so long. Okay, and here we set it. So now let's make something. Here we can add node transform modify bone. So transform bone, as you probably understand it from the name, we just transform bone. We can specify rotation, translation, and scale of it, as I said before. Here in bone to modify, we're gonna specify forward wheel like that, and here let's also split structure pin and connect only y axis. Oh yeah, I forgot. So select that node, and here we can set some settings. As you see, we have settings for rotation, scale, and translation. In case of translation and scale, we can just ignore it, because we're not changing anything. But in rotation, we have here have to set to replace existing, because we don't want to add, we just want to replace. And here, instead of component space, set bone space. Okay, and now let's try. As you see, forward wheel is rotating, and it's nice. Okay, with the backward wheel, it's gonna be a bit easier. Let me show you. In case of the backward wheel, we can just copy bone. So copy bone, what I mean by that here, check copy rotation because we copy rotation, mostly we not copy translation or scale. And here source bone is rear physics wheel and target bone is back wheel. So why I not done it here? Because later when we will make steering rotating, that approach with the copying for the forward wheel will work a bit wrongly. When we will implement steering, I will show you why. For now, just because steering is parent of the forward wheel, steering gonna be rotated and forward wheel gonna be rotated, and and finally it will just work a bit strange. It will looks a bit strange, so it will looks like that, you know. So it touches wheel and steering. Okay. And here let's check if the rear wheel is rotating. Yeah, rear wheel is rotating correctly. Everything is working fine. So now let's make more interesting thing. Let's go to event graph, and now we're gonna work on rotating steering. So to rotate steering, we're gonna get its rotation from the vehicle movement component. So to do that, let me show you how I will implement it. So here we have a PP bicycle. From it we can get vehicle movement. Just get this component. Yeah, component. Sorry, not system component. And that vehicle movement component we're gonna cast to chaos vehicle wheeled movement component here. Oh, sorry. Like that. That's also make things looks better. I'll move it here. And that is okay. Okay, nice. And from that component we can get our wheels. Get wheels. It's an array that is specified earlier, as I showed you. And from it we're gonna get forward wheel. So let's see, forward wheel is the first. Okay, index 0. So here we're gonna get first. We here get by index. And from that wheel we can just get steer angle. Because as you remember, when we made wheels, here, front wheel, here we checked that affected by steering. Here, forward wheel is affected by steering, so the steer angle gonna contain just angle of the steering for that forward wheel. Okay, but before promoting to the variable, and the one thing that we should do is check the length of the array. Because if the length is 0, then we're gonna get error, and that will not work. So let's get length and compare it. I mean, let's just check if it's greater than 0. Let's make branch, just if statement here. Okay, if it's true, then we're gonna promote it to the variable. So promote to the variable, and that variable gonna have name steer angle. Okay, and now we can promote it. I mean set it. Yeah, fine. So here we have it. Let's compile and save. Yes, I forgot. We have to set rotation in the anim graph. as you remember. We have to do it for the steering as well. So after that, wheels, or no, let's make it before wheels. Transform, modify bone. Now that one bone that will be modified is gonna be steering. Let's also split in structure, and here in steering angle we should provide to the Z axis. Why? Because take a look right here. Steering angle, sorry, what angle? Steering bone, and we want to rotate it on the Z-axis. Z-axis is the blue one. So you see. And by the way, if you follow it or just watched the Blender part, then you remember that we rotated that steering and not applied it. So now we don't want to rotate also Y-axis. We don't want to make something like that moves. We just make that rotation and not apply it in the Blender. And so now we can only rotate on the Z-axis and it's gonna be great. Okay, and here we have to make the same thing. So in the rotation, just replace existing and it's gonna be bone space. So take a look here. It's an interesting thing. If I say set component space, then you see how weird it is. So spaces are very important things. Compile and save. Okay, let's now run the game and try if it's working. As you see, yes, it's perfectly fine. It's working, steering is rotating, and we can ride our bike. It's fine. Okay. The only thing that is left for us is the pedals and pedal gear, especially. We have to rotate it. With the pedal gear is more complex, even more complex than steering. So let's go to the event graph because we will make the same angle variable. So the interesting point of the rear wheel, of the pedal gear, right there. When we pressing W key on the keyboard, it should be rotated. Or I mean, if you press W or S, it should be rotated, because if you have ever ride on bicycle, you remember when you rotate that pedals with your legs, you are riding, and like pedals should be rotated. But then after you have like some velocity, then you can stop rotate pedals and you will ride further. You will not stop eventually, you know. And here is the same thing. When buttons are pressed, so when then the player want to rotate it and accelerate more and get more velocity, then it should be rotated. If no, then it shouldn't be rotated. Okay, I think I hope you understand what I mean, right? But right now, as we will implement it, you will understand it and understand it even better. So, the first thing that we have to get is the velocity. So, from the VP bicycle, we can just get velocity of that bicycle, of that object. So here we make a bit spaghetti, but what I have to say, you know. Oh, what? Okay, let's make it a little like that, so it's not looking so weird. Okay, it's the first thing that we have to get, and also, as you remember, in the C++, let me open here, we implemented that get y right axis, and I said you that when we will implement animation system, then it that method gonna be very helpful. So as I said before, when button W or S is pressed, then we have to rotate pedals. If you press W, we're gonna get +1. If you press S, then we're gonna get -1. And we just return only Y axis. So first thing is we get to the vector, and X-axis is steering, so A and D keys, and W and S is Y. Okay. So here we should also call that method. So get Y right axis. We can call it, by the way. It's interesting. I mean, you probably know that, but you should understand it. That here we can call it from the blueprint only because of that we here add blueprint callable to the U function. Let's also get it here. Like that. Maybe not the most beautiful blueprint, but you know, it will not be so long, so don't worry about that. Okay, and now what we have to do from here, we have to, of course, get vector length. So that vector length gonna just show the velocity, because velocity is the vector from the start, and when we get vector length, we're gonna just get the velocity of the bicycle in the flow, like the float. Okay, and now we can multiply it. So here, remember that get Y right axis, it could be -1, 0, or 1. If we will multiply, by the way, we will multiply 3 things, 3 floats. If one of that floats is 0, then everything gonna be 0. If something is nothing is 0, then it's not gonna be 0. So here we'll multiply that Y right axis, then we multiply it by the vector length and also by the 0.1. So that digit, that strange digit, what I have to say that velocity length is a bit big value, and later we're gonna, so result of that multiplication, we're gonna just set to the rotation, and we don't want to make it rotating very quickly. So later we will experiment with that value, so to make things better, but for now let's just set it. So here, understand that if we press in W button, then that thing gonna be 1. So we multiply 1 by the vector length, let's say 1000. So 1 by 1000 is the 1000, and then on that digit of that, and then we multiply on that float also, and it's gonna be 10, just 10. Or I mean, vector length is not gonna be 1000, it's gonna be more than 1000, but you get the idea. And if that Y right axis is gonna be -1, then we're gonna get, like here in the result, -1, because acceleration is gonna be positive value, and here if we get -1, then rotation gonna be negative, so we rotate that pedals in the backward direction. And if that Y right axis gonna be 0, then we multiply it by vector length and by that float, and we get 0. So we are not rotating, because rotation x is gonna be 0. Okay, I hope you get the idea. So here we can promote it to the variable. Promote, and let's name it gear pitch, because we're gonna rotate on y-axis. Here, as you see, y-axis. And here, one last interesting point, that before we promote it, okay, let's move it. We have to check is if its value is more than 360, because 360 it should be maximum value, and you know, if it's more than that, we should just set it to the 0. So here let's just make branch, and I mean, it will work without that, but I like to make it because you know, float is not float is have some limitations. So here, if it's false, I mean, okay, if it's true, no, sorry, if it's false, then we set it to the result of the multiplication. But if it's true, then let's duplicate that node and we set it to the 0. Okay, and that's all what we got to do. Okay, let's compile and save. And in the anim graph, here let's move it. And here let's transform, modify bone. Here, bone to modify is pedal gear rotation. We should split it and pass to the y-axis each rotation. Okay, and here don't ignore that. Replace existing and bone space. Compile and save. So let's try what we get. Take a look at the... Oh, you see? Something is weird. Okay, let's fix that. Sorry, I forgot one important thing. That here we have to get gear pitch and add. So we add that to the current gear pitch. And after addition, we can just pass it here. Oh, sorry, here I tested it. Okay. Let's check. Yeah, it's a bit not correct. As you see, we should reverse. So here there's plus minus. And now, yes, it's correct. When I press the button, then it's rotating. When not, it's not rotating. One last change that we will make is the pedals. You see, one problem. When we rotate it, pedals should be like flat, straight, not changing rotation. So it's very easy to make. Just here, move it a bit, and let's duplicate that node, and here just select left pedal, and also make the same with the right pedal. We are not passing anything right there. It's just setting rotation to the 0, and that's it. So you see, I started. Why it's not working? Oh, yeah. Here just select component space. And here component space. And now let's test. Yes, as you see, let me make it bigger. Oh, I not fixed it from the last time. Okay, sorry. I will fix it. So basically, as you see, when we rotate, it's rotating, and legs of the character that we will implement, I mean model in the next chapter, it could be standing on the pedals. So in the next episode we will model Enric character. It's not gonna be some complex character because, you know, it's not the point of that series to make complex character. I mean, it's the point to make complex stuff, but it's not the point to model complex stuff. And I don't want to spend like 5 or 10 hours just for the modeling. It's gonna be so long, and probably you're not very interested in it. You're more interested in the Unreal Engine stuff. So we will make like kind of low poly character. Will not be some complicated to model and then implement, and then we'll make animations for it and make it just sitting on the bike, and then make it running, walking, and give the ability and animate it to sit on the bike. Because we will animate the sitting on the bike. I'll show you how to do this. And I just wanted to show you one interesting thing that I'm working on right now. As you see, it's the button that we, of course, I will show you how to do that in the later chapters when we will implement HUD and the phone system. That button gonna be in the phone or probably in the another UI stuff also. And I just wanted to show you one animation, cool animation that I'm working on right now. I just done it. So as you see, we can animate it and it will be cool. So on hover and on press, we can animate that, we can animate glowing and all that stuff. It's just interesting thing that I wanted to show you. Okay, so thanks you for watching. See you in the later episodes. I hope you will hit the like button and subscribe on my channel. It's very helpful. Thanks. See you in the later chapters.